ADSC offers a platform for exchanging cutting-edge ideas and global best practices. We provide comprehensive services in research and consultancy, capacity building and training, education programs, publishing and knowledge sharing. Our esteemed faculty, composed of seasoned experts and researchers, ensures a learning experience that is insightful and practical. We specialize in policy development, implementation strategies, monitoring and evaluation. At ADSC, learning is engaging and enjoyable. Our unique methodology includes talks, interactive exercises, games, video screenings, and lively seminar discussions, all in a comfortable and friendly environment. Ready to make an impact? For more information, email us at info@adstudycenter.com or call +234 912 039 2362. Visit us today at www.adstudycenter.com to explore our programs and upcoming events. Africa Development Studies Center, rethinking development for Africa.
What keeps the heartbeat of a community alive? Is it the courage to create, the power to connect, the vision to transform? Well, it's all of this and more. It's a symphony of ideas, innovation, and industry. But where do these stories come alive? It's right here on The Isle, 104.9 FM, the station where dreams meet action and growth finds its voice. The Isle, 104.9. Business, economy, development. Stay tuned.
Welcome to News Hour on Souq News Television. I am Grace Komolafe. First, the headline. Federal government approves 4.2 trillion naira for road projects. And in Ghana, inflation is slightly to 23.5% in January. Singapore vows to replenish IDA coffers. Trump proposes U.S. takeover of Gaza, breaking decades of policy. Thank you for joining us on News Hour. Now we start from the home front. The federal government of Nigeria has approved road infrastructure contracts worth 4.2 trillion naira, covering major highways and bridges across the country, including the second phases of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Road. Minister of Works David Umahi disclosed this to newsmen yesterday in Abuja at the end of the Federal Executive Council meeting presided by President Bola Tinubu. According to Umahi, the projects are spread over several states with a focus on enhancing connectivity, improving road safety, and supporting economic growth. The minister also addressed concerns about terminated contracts, particularly with Julius Baja, clarifying that the government has negotiated cost-saving measures while equipment from previous contractors will be repurposed to avoid unnecessary mobilization costs. The House of Representatives is set to debate President Bola Tinubu's tax reform bills following months of opposition from state governors and northern lawmakers over revenue-sharing concerns. The four bills aim to improve Nigeria's tax system with a revised VAT formula helping ease tensions. Lawmakers led by Speaker Tajuddin Abbas assured that public hearings will address controversial actions. With an agreement reached, the bill moved to second reading as stakeholders push for a fair and transparent review before final passage. Moving on, the Bank of Industry, BOI, has signed an MOU with FSD Africa to enhance green financing in Nigeria. FSD Africa will provide technical assistance and strategic guidance to support BOI's sustainability initiatives. BOI's Managing Director, Dr. Olashukbo Olusi, described the partnership as key to boosting climate resilience and sustainability within the bank's operations. The collaboration will focus on decarbonization strategies, climate-focused lending solutions, and adaptation finance. This aligns with BOI's strategic plan to prioritize green finance. Dr. Evans Osano, representing FSD Africa, emphasized the importance of addressing Nigeria's $27.2 billion climate finance gap and praised BOI's commitment to supporting sustainable business growth and national climate goals. And now, the Minister for Women Affairs, Sulaiman Ibrahim, have announced that the federal government and ECOWAS will rehabilitate 80 vesico-vaginal fistula (VVF) survivors in Castina as part of efforts to support women affected by obstetric fistula. The initiative includes medical treatments, reintegration, and reunification support. Also, 50 fistula surgeons will be trained, 25 at the National Obstetric Fistula Center in Casina and 25 at the Fistula Center in Calabar to enhance healthcare services. The program will also clear a backlog of 100 fistula cases and conduct needs assessment for survivors. State officials, including Health Commissioner Musa Adamu Funtua, commended ECOWAS for its commitment to women's health and urged continued advocacy for affected women and girls. On agriculture, Nigeria's tomato farmers and investors have lost over 2 billion naira since the start of ongoing tomato glut in 2024, largely due to inadequate storage facilities in major tomato growing states, especially in the north. According to the National Secretary of the Association of Tomato Growers, Processors and Marketers of Nigeria, Sani Danladi, the annual glut from January to March floods the market, with tomatoes driving prices down and drastically leading to devastating post-harvest losses. In Kano and Kaduna alone, over 500 tons of tomatoes are harvested daily, with more than 20 trucks transporting an average of 25 metric tons each. However, poor storage and limited processing facilities means that about 50% of harvested tomatoes are lost, contributing to Nigeria's annual post-harvest loss of 3.5 trillion naira, as reported by industry experts. The tomato glut has caused a 90% price crash, with a large basket now selling for 15,000 naira instead of against 150,000 naira in May 2024. In Kaduna, prices are even lower, with a big crate going for 5,000 naira, nearly 200% less than last year. Experts say Nigeria, as Africa's second largest tomato producer with 2.3 million metric tons annually, has the potential to dominate the market if proper storage and processing facilities are developed. It's news hour on Souq News Television. Nations launch energy reforms to boost power sector. Stay tuned for more of the story after the break. Glad to know you are still there. Now let's get to it as we follow up on a story of a group of African leaders succeeding the initial agreement on energy reforms by 30 African countries at the Dar es Salaam summit, which include Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, Tanzania, and Zambia. 12 countries have now launched the Energy Compact to reform their power sectors and expand electricity access. The plans focused on clean renewable energy and private sector involvement aim to attract investments and improve accountability. Nigeria, for instance, targets increasing its renewable energy share to 50% and aims for universal electricity access by 2030, with $23.2 billion in funding, including $15.5 billion from private investors. While the initiative faces challenges such as financial constraints in the power sector, experts emphasize the need for strong policies, private sector collaboration, and reforms to attract investment successful. For successful, these reforms could revolutionize Africa's energy landscape, similar to mobile phone industry. And in Ghana, Ghana's consumer inflation slowed marginally to 23.5% year-on-year in January, down from 23.8% in December, according to the Ghana Statistical Service. Government statistician Samuel Kobina Anim attributed the slight decline to a deceleration in non-food inflation, though food prices remained on the rise. During a press briefing, Anim stated that though the inflation rate has eased by 0.3 percentage points, the 23.5 figure remains the second highest in the last 9 months. The West African nation has been battling its worst economic crisis in decades, compounded by turbulence in key sectors such as cocoa and gold production. While inflation has declined from its peak, it remains well above the Bank of Ghana's target range of 6% to 10%. The central bank cautioned last week that it may take longer than anticipated for inflation to return within its preferred range, despite ongoing monetary policy measures. Moving on to the Southeastern Asia, the Philippine House of Representatives have voted to impeach Vice President Sara Duterte over allegations of corruption and misconduct. Duterte is accused of misusing public funds and threatening President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. She denied the charges, calling them a political attack. The impeachment passed with 215 out of 306 votes, surpassing the required 1/3 majority. The case now moves to the Senate, which will serve as an impeachment court. If convicted, the vice president would be removed from office and permanently barred from public service. Duterte sees as a potential successor to Marcos has not disclosed her next step yet. This impeachment follows growing tensions between the two leaders, who had initially been allies in the 2022 elections but diverged on issues like foreign policies. The trial date has yet to be set, with the situation likely deepening the political divide. Still in Asia, stocks faltered Wednesday as Wall Street future dipped on earnings disappointment and the dollar weakened against the yen after Treasury yields fell. Investors were unsettled by Donald Trump's unexpected proposal for the U.S. takeover of Gaza, raising concerns about policy uncertainty. Markets found some relief after China set a firm yuan fix, easing fears of currency devaluation amid trade tensions. Beijing's response to U.S. tariffs imposed $14 billion in levies, and analysts say China's moves aims to send a message without escalating the trade war. And now Singapore has pledged to replenish the coffers of the International Development Association IDA, paying its $7 million for the next 3 years, starting July 2025. The International Development Association IDA, which is a part of the World Bank, focuses on assisting low-income countries, providing grants and low-interest loans to assist them in future investment and improved living conditions. Singapore's second Minister of Finance, Indrani Raja, mentioned an increase of 24% compared to the various 10% they contributed to replenish the IDA's coffers. However, other donors of the IDA agreed to expand the 21st replenishment IDA 21 in December 2024, which reached a historical high of $100 billion. And on tariff matters, China restricts mineral products after U.S. tariffs. News Hour is still on, and we will bring back more of the stories after this break. Thank you for staying with us. China announced on Tuesday that they will restrict exports of 5 metals which are used in defense, clean energy and other industries in retaliation to the fresh U.S. tariffs that was imposed on them. However, they have refrained from imposing outright bans. The Asian countries' restrictions are attempts to leverage their economic dominance in the mining and processing of critical minerals, which are used in many products, such as smartphones, electric car batteries, and ammunition. In a specific move to safeguard national security interests, which is according to the Commerce Ministry, license will be required to export minerals such as tungsten, tellurium, bismuth, indium, and molybdenum. And now President Donald Trump announced plans for the U.S. to take control of Gaza and develop it economically after resettling Palestinians elsewhere. Speaking alongside Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Trump called Gaza a demolished site and proposed relocating its 2 million residents. The move would shatter U.S. policy, which sees Gaza as part of a future Palestinian state. With an Israeli-Hamas ceasefire in place, Trump's proposal adds new uncertainty to Middle East diplomacy. United States Agency for International Development, USAID, has placed its staff in the U.S. and around the world on administrative leave as it moves to recall employees from overseas postings. According to a statement on the agency's website, the staff leave will begin shortly before midnight of February 7. The administrative leave will affect all USAID direct hire personnel, with the exception of designated personnel responsible for mission-critical functions, core leadership, and specifically designed programs. The move, which is part of Trump's ongoing reform of the U.S. government, has led to protests from democratic and human rights community. USAID funds health and emergency programs in around 120 countries, including the world's poorest regions. The USAID reforms is also being overseen by President Trump's billionaire Elon Musk. The effect is already being felt in Nigeria as USAID-funded organizations have begun to shut down. And similarly in Washington, D.C., protesters gathered outside the U.S. Office of Personnel Management, OPM, on Tuesday to express outrage over Elon Musk's increasing control within the federal government. Demonstrators and lawmakers alike have raised concerns about the billionaire's influence, which they say bypasses traditional oversight and threatens democratic governments. Maryland resident Dan Smith, whose father was a federal worker, stressed the urgency of resisting what he described as an attempt to dismantle the government, calling it frightening and disgusting. While federal employees Dante O'Hara warned that recent policy shifts targeting diversity and inclusion resemble a modern-day Jim Crow, effectively segregating the workforce. Musk's designation as a special government employee exempts him from standard ethics and disclosure regulations, fueling concerns about transparency. Reports suggest he has sidelined career officials, accessed classified databases, and even shut down the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, without congressional approval. Democrat lawmakers have sounded the alarm over the implications of Musk's unchecked authority, calling for increased oversight. As protests continue, demands for accountability and a re-evaluation of Musk's role in governance are gaining momentum. Wrapping up with sports, Premier League plans new offside technology, VAR changes. Please stay as we bring you the rest of the story. The Premier League aims to introduce semi-automated offside technology SAOT before the season ends to improve accuracy and reduce delays in decision-making. The system, already used in major tournaments, provides faster and more precise offside calls by using artificial intelligence and tracking technology. Also, league's officials are considering allowing referees to explain video assistance referees' VAR decisions to fans during matches. This move aims to enhance transparency and improve communication between officials and spectators, following similar practices in international competitions. The Premier League has defended the effectiveness of VAR, stating that 66 out of 70 interventions this season were correct. Despite ongoing debates over its impact on the game, officials believe these changes will increase fairness and trust in officiating. And that's news at 12 on Souq News Television. Many thanks for joining us. Don't forget we are live on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and X. I am Grace Komalafe. Good afternoon.
Africa Development Studies Center, ADSC. We are committed to driving sustainable growth and development across Africa through innovative training and research. Our mission: empowering leaders, policymakers, and professionals with the tools they need to create lasting change. With customized training, dynamic research programs, and study exchanges on leadership, management, and other critical development topics, ADSC offers a platform for exchanging cutting-edge ideas and global best practices. We provide comprehensive services in research and consultancy, capacity building and training, education programs, publishing, and knowledge sharing. Our esteemed faculty, composed of seasoned experts and researchers, ensures a learning experience that is insightful and practical. We specialize in policy development, implementation strategies, monitoring, and evaluation. At ADSC, learning is engaging and enjoyable. Our unique methodology includes talks, interactive exercises, games, video screenings, and lively seminar discussions, all in a comfortable and friendly environment. Ready to make an impact? For more information, email us at info@adstudycenter.com or call +234 912 439 2362. Visit us today at www.adstudycenter.com to explore our programs and upcoming events. Africa Development Studies Center, rethinking development for Africa.
What keeps the heartbeat of a community alive? Is it the courage to create, the power to connect, the vision to transform? Well, it's all of this and more. It's a symphony of ideas, innovation, and industry. But where do these stories come alive? It's right here on The Isle, 104.9 FM, the station where dreams meet action and growth finds its voice. The Isle, 104.9. Business, economy, development. Stay tuned.
In 1957, just a greenhorn leaving school and looking for a job, going into broadcasting was something that I dreamt of. But that's only meant going into radio, because my old school, Holy Child College, still on the same site in Obalende, 2 streets away from the old NBC. I still can't forgive whoever changed the name to something else that is being called now FRCN. Because if the BBC remains BBC 100 years after the founding fathers, dreamt of starting television, radio from, all the war years and learning a bit from America. It all started from America. Because we were taught about all this. Every time they took us from school to take part in, schools debates on radio, we just walked across. It's all in Obalende and Ikoyi, Balende/Ikoyi. So I dreamt of doing something along the line. And then one of my teachers left us high and dry. He went to be a news reader on radio. Marie Tabio, who later became Mrs. Irikefe. Then we had people like Tung Adedoyin and Souq. We used to listen to them on radio on the old, you wouldn't know anything about that now, the rediffusion. It was just, a little box in your home, and everybody looked forward to either listening to the 7 o'clock news in the morning or 6 o'clock or 7 in the evening. So that was all really all I had to do with broadcasting. And who was going to take me there was another matter altogether. Who would take you, little 16, 17-year-old girl, into broadcasting? But one had been bitten by the bug then. So, and only God knows where whatever dream you had was going to lead to. We read poetry, we did radio show, stage shows in school. The Catholic schools were very good for that. And my old school, just celebrating 150 years of its existence, just down the road from here on Broad Street. The nuns, they were all white nuns. No Nigerian nuns at the time that we were growing up. So all the dream they had, this kind of dream that we have now, going to England, but they were coming here to teach us. So I had learnt a lot of poetry, I had taken part in Festival of Arts, and I had gone to, the biggest hall we had then was at King's College, which is also down the road. Means of transportation was your SS foot. No BRT, no bicycles or whatever. So we did it all just walking around and learning from our teachers. And of course, our mentors were the nuns, like I said. So in my wildest dream, there was no way that I was thinking of going into anything like broadcasting. That is going back to answer your question. But they had a lot of plans for the girl child. And not along the religious lines now. But actually, they came to actually engender this whole idea of pushing the girl child forward. And not just me, a lot of us. People like Mrs. Francesca Emanuel, they also went through the whole gamut of all this dream that I'm talking about. Television itself was brand new in the world. I have to talk about radio because that was what I knew as a child. But television, when it started, we didn't even know. Maybe in America, and then it went to Australia, and then to France. No. France came after Nigeria. You wouldn't believe that, would you? That we were number 6. America, Britain, Germany, Australia, one other country, and coming now home to Nigeria, where you cannot help but give a lot of credit to the dreams of people like late Chief Obafemi Awolowo and one of his ministers then, Chief Anthony Enahoro. So that's how I believe this whole package was placed on their laps. and sold to Nigeria, to the Western Nigeria government. On the radar were lots of other people like me who had dreams about becoming Miss Nigeria. So maybe that will now give you a little background about how I took part in the Miss Nigeria pageant, Western Nigeria, and I became Miss Western Nigeria. Somebody must have fine-tuned some little knots somewhere and said, okay, you probably might be able to deliver. Because you are being interviewed when you go before the panel of judges. And somebody must have said, okay, that's a good material, you can come and take part in this. Before then, we had other people, Anike Agbaje Williams, Poliola Sokwe, who were working on radio. My dream was to work in radio, but then I missed that. And I was nursing, that dream of still going to radio. Never knew what television was all about. So maybe that answers your question, I'm not sure. But I took part in the Miss Western Nigeria pageant and I won. Took part in the Miss Nigeria contest and came second. So that meant that I didn't win. And if one of the, maybe the prize was to go on TV, it wasn't even there. It wasn't written into the, program that whoever did this, but the person was going to go to England. And so Helena Yemeluna, who won that contest, went to London and fulfilled her own dream. But I was still biting my nails, waiting for when I'll be able to get a job. There were other things that girls could do. You could be a nurse, you could be a teacher, you could be an assistant, a dental assistant. All those were things that young ladies, can, fulfill their dreams along those lines. They're still there. You still have young ladies. Mrs. Muritala Mohammed, the first time I met her, she was a dental assistant. Little did we know that her husband was going to be the head of state and she would be first. So you see, lots of things were there for the young girl who wanted to learn, who had the talent, and who wanted to perform, and who wanted to work hard. But now I don't know if girls want to work hard. All they want is, the table to be set, and then they come and, partake of whatever is there. It wasn't too difficult at the time that I was picked as one of the people to come and appear in WNTV. The audition was actually carried out before my time. I got involved in so many other things, trying to get a job, something to secure, something, to alleviate poverty. There was not too much poverty in Nigeria at the time because people could still eke a living for themselves and, get by in society. But I was lucky that I had an aunt who was a nurse in the hospital in Ibadan, UCH in Ibadan. And she was married to an Englishman, and the man's friend happened to have been the man, Mr. Mathers, who was brought as one of the technical partners to WNTV. So we met at a dinner party, and just as you and I are chatting, I was only 18 plus. I was 17 when I took part in the pageant. So by this time I was growing up, and I thought I was a big girl. So I opened my mouth and I said a few things. And the man looked at me and said, "How come you are not speaking with a Nigerian accent?" And I didn't know what he meant because we were taught at St. Mary's to deliver whatever lines we were given to deliver. The Festival of Arts, I came second after an English boy from Corona School. And I was given a beating for coming second. Not because I didn't perform well, but because I forgot to curtsy. And one of the judges, I think, who was then Mrs. Abayomi, Lady Abayomi, said that I delivered my lines very well. If I were the Lord of Tartary, I would do this and that and the other. So I came second. And when I got back to the school, the nun, Sister Marieta, said, "You were not paying attention. So whatever you do in life, you have to be consistent, you have to perform well, the way we're trying to do now, the way we're trying to project your voice and whatever it is you have to offer with a lot of humility, not trying to show off or to project your own image or whatever message you have to deliver. You have to make sure that it is well delivered. The following year, St. Mary's Convent School, which is my old school, which is 150 years old in existence, went to the same King's College Hall, and we beat a lot of secondary schools. We came first. Pied Piper of Hamelin. Have you ever heard of that poet? Pied Piper of Hamelin was about someone who wanted to get rid of all the rats in Europe. And all he did was to play the pipe. So that is what we were more or less doing. That's what you and I have felt. Being a Pied Piper, trying to get off all the ills in society. That's the main job of a broadcaster. There's so many things happening in the country, and it's only TV and radio that binds the country together. If the country falls apart tomorrow, you will rely on someone from radio or from television to make the announcement, to introduce the head of state who has just won the election or the one who has just taken over. It's a huge responsibility. At that age, at 19, we had to introduce people like Chief Obafemi Awolowo on TV. We had to introduce people like Akintola, Oladoke Akintola, as the premier. And when everything broke down and it all went into smithereens, they brought in Chief Majekodumi as the administrator of the Western region. All this happening before our eyes. There were no other stations in the country except WNTV. And we were there, so we learned quite a lot. In fact, I believe that the whole country revolves around broadcasting. And if you are part of that organization, how would you feel at my age, at 80-something? As young people, perhaps you don't know all this history that I'm telling you about. It's a long, long story. But when you sit down, you have to put it all into perspective. You see that, well, some people are actually meant to be in different positions. Some people are meant to be doctors. Some people are meant to be nurses. But those of us that are in broadcasting, it's a huge responsibility. It's a passion. Sometimes you don't even know how you got there in the first place. Or somebody may have discovered you. It's like being in Hollywood in those days. Someone has to develop, so you have the talent, the latent talent, and then somebody will discover you. So that's how I was discovered by Mr. Mathers at a dinner. I was put in that place because I had won the Miss Western Nigeria contest. If I hadn't done that, I probably would be somewhere in the kitchen washing plates, washing all the dishes. So there you are, if that answers your question. Well, there's no one that actually picks someone and puts you plonk without, I mean, of course, if you don't have any experience on the job, you have no business being there in the first place. But if I had taken part in Pied Piper of Hamelin towns in Brunswick, I was only 13. By famous Hanover City, I was speaking like an English person. When I was only a Nigerian, little girl, being nurtured, by my mother, who was a seamstress, how would you ever get there? But you already have that background, that solid background on the rock, as it were. So, by the time I was ready to go on TV, I had learnt from all the other, people that I mentioned their names earlier, like Anike Agbaje Williams. And I wouldn't say it was easy, because you always have that, butterfly fluttering in front of the camera or wherever. I think I took to television like I was meant to be there. With all humility. If I had been groomed by all these nuns that I have mentioned their names, they came to Nigeria to serve the people. They were not earning salaries, To become a nun, you have to take the oath of obedience, chastity, poverty, and all that. So you're not earning a salary. But whoever is there now is thinking of how much money he's going to get from whatever take comes from here, there, and yonder. So they taught us well. And nobody said you're going to go and appear on TV or you're going to be on radio. But just do what you're meant to do properly. With a lot of sense of responsibility and diligence. And that stands at the back of your mind. That goes everywhere with you, wherever you go in life. Even when I was nursing a sick child, my late son was a sick child. And I was meant to take part in Verdict 79 with my colleagues Kerry Ahmed and Adamu Augi. They all came with me to the hospital, which is just next door here. And then we came back and mounted the podium and continued our business as if nothing was happening. He didn't die at the time, of course, but the job must go on. That is always there at the back of your mind. So my first night, I wouldn't say that I didn't have any jitters, that I was not nervous. But I was able to deliver, and I think that was the staying power. That was what kept me going, because other people came on board. I was not the only one. All the members of the board had their own, little nephews and nieces that they wanted to project on TV. They all came and they couldn't make it. But Anike and I kept going. And if you gave me a script now, I think I would try and... We didn't have too many, what do you call it then, teleprompters. Well, I was very good at, I had a photographic memory. So I was able to get hold of the script, and in less than 60 seconds, I'll be able to deliver it straight to the camera. That was one of the assets that I had also, which was God's gift. It's not by own might or whatever you think you have. You have the talent, of course, but also there has to be some other little bits of gifts that will help you to project the image of a professional. A lot of controversy. There is hardly any TV, radio, movie personality that can scale through that without any, because people are watching, people are trying to find their own little, bits of criticism here, there, and yonder. You can't be a goody, two shoots without, any, how shall I say it, problem here, there, and yonder. So everybody has their own way of looking at people. People say, well, what has she got to do? She went to take part in Miss Western Nigeria the other day. So what's the big deal about her? And then somebody will still add their own salt and pepper here and there. But I was lucky that I was being nurtured by someone like G.O.S. Benson, who was then our Minister for Information. And he felt that, everything should not stop here. There were things happening in America. He made sure that my name was there. I was at the inauguration of President Johnson, Lyndon Johnson, and we commanded a lot of attention there, myself and my colleague who came from Lagos, the station in Lagos. And for the president to notice that there were two black people sitting behind him at his inaugural ball, I think it was very overwhelming for me because not many black people had invitation to that event. But Charity Daredevil and I were there, and he stood up and shook our hands where we were sitting behind, 3 rows behind the president. Then Kennedy had died, and we were still nothing, we were still feeling very hot about, the loss of Kennedy. And here was the new president coming up. We were not particularly keen on being welcomed by him. But then, things like that happen to you, and it makes headline news. 2 black people, they didn't even say Nigerians. They thought we were from Ghana because some journalists came around and said, "How is your man Nkrumah?" And we said, "No, our own prime minister is Tafawa Balewa." They never heard of him then. But then they had to go and carry out their own study and find out who Tafawa Balewa was. And of course, the whole country was very proud of us that we went and actually stole the show at the inauguration of President Lyndon Johnson. So many other things happened. When I came to London, the British Information Office, they were trying to look for someone to host their program. That host happened to be around, so they picked me to host their program. But you don't ad-lib on any of those stations. Everything is written out. The questions, even your answer will be written. You can change it around a little bit, and to make sure that you said the right thing at the right time. So that was how we were able to gain attention. German television also invited us because they were interested in Nigeria. See how the German chancellor came to Nigeria. That was what happened at the time. In 1963, we had just become a republic then, from being an independent station in 1960. By 1963, we then became a republic. And we were chosen to go and appear on German television in Berlin. And they wanted a little bit of culture. So Benson had his own band. So we were chosen to go and represent Nigeria then. Nobody knew who the ambassador was, but they wanted to know who was presenting something on TV. So that's how important television has been. And that, in fact, we were the first television in the whole of Africa. The very first station, WNTV, that was a call signal. WNTV, first in Africa. There's nothing like that now. Nobody wants to know whether you are first or second. But the station that is being run in Nigeria, I think, has the largest number of stations than any other country in Africa. We have about 21 stations, and now it's still, still counting. And yours is coming on board, and so many others. I think next to America, Nigeria should have been the best country for television broadcasting in the whole world. There's not so many countries in the world that has as many stations as Nigeria. We only have to put our heads together. We only have to find joy in whatever we're doing. Sometimes when it's raining, people say, "Oh, it's raining," and they feel very bad about the rain. But if you look closely, behind that rain, there will be sunshine, there will be something else coming on. You see some silver clouds coming during the rain, but Nigerians don't have the patience to wait for that kind of thing. That's what television teaches you. If you're in the studio, you don't know what's happening outside. You just get on with the job. That's what we were taught. We were taught not by Nigerians. Even when we started, we couldn't go on air and ad-lib. There was always someone there, Mr. Blackledge, to write the script. And if you can commit that to memory and deliver it, they're home and dry. It's not everyone that has the gift, not everyone that has the talent. It's God-given. And if you listen as a child at 17, 18, 19. At my own age, I learned from school, and I was able to impart this into the job. So within a few months, we got double promotion, all of us, because we were doing very well. Anika Agbadi was excellent. Yola Sope was superb. And so many other people reading the news. We were the first female to read the news. Women were not allowed to read the news. Nigeria started it. BBC wouldn't allow a woman to pick up a script and read the news. We were already there. So that's how we were able to gain this global attention that you mentioned. It's not easy. Not easy. Like I said, when we were taught by not by Nigerians. But somebody came along the line and said, we don't have to speak like English people. You can just carry on and use your own parochial background. If you are a Robo man, you can speak English the way you like. That was his own idea. Because he didn't believe in us doing all this la-di-da and trying to, say things the proper way. But that watered down the standards a bit. Because then everybody, maybe he had a relation who wanted to appear on TV and he wasn't allowed to because he couldn't speak like Ikena Ndagoba or Bodelalade and things like that, or Friday Fode or Mike Enahoro. So somebody must have gone to him and said, because he doesn't speak like any of those people who were taught by, foreign teachers, people who had learned, people who knew what a DJ, we had a Bible then, that you had to pronounce your words correctly. So he came and said, now that I'm DG, I'm not going to tolerate all this, your English way of speaking. And some other people, of course, that watered down the standards. That's not our making. We were still ready to continue the way we were doing, but then they pushed us to the background. But there were others who were able to perform well. Ruth Benamesia, Opia, Sienna Weber, and of course Bimbo Oloyede, who was born in England. If you already employed those people to deliver the goods and to present your programs, you're not going to sack all of them because they speak with English accent. I don't see how that can be an offense. Cannot be, guilty of speaking English well, like the English people. But they then brought out other people. And you had the head of presentation. I became head of the presentation after I came under Buba. And you're trying to prepare your roster. You wanted to put such people online to read the network news. They say, okay, bring somebody who can speak like General Didier and do a little bit of a on the side. It's part of our culture. So that is what is happening to TV broadcasting in Nigeria. It's all very interesting. So, this cultural milieu and bringing, a touch of Nigeria. Nigeria is doing well. In that aspect, in the music world, I think we're leading. Some of us who grew up on Handel's Messiah and Mozart, we have to sort of put our hands behind our back now and watch, all the way things have turned around. And Nigerian music is doing well. Afrobeat is reigning everywhere in the world. So really you can't find faults with that. So when they watch a bit of Fela and his children and all his grandchildren doing well, then listen to the channels on TV, you have to take what you get from there as well. If somebody can wake up one day and say, why should your station be called the Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation? I say it should now be Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria. Tongue twisting. It takes a long time to come to terms with. If everyone wake up in the morning and say, this is Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation, you have the call signal. Da 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 da. This is the Nigerian Broadcasting whatever. How are you going to put that, into context with the new one? First of all, when you wake up, you don't know whether you are even coming out of the right side of your bed or not. You are going to have to face your audience and say, we are no more the Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation. We are now Federal whatever, which you don't even know where the man, who came up with the idea. He didn't even consult you, didn't even put it to test. If the British corporation, they are going to change from BBC after 100 years, they will ask the whole nation, they will say, where are we going to take this from? They will ask everybody, they will do a census, they will do all kinds of things, carry out all kinds of tests to see whether people will accept it from them. No. Nigerians are very hard and cut and dry. This is the way I want it. I'm the head of state, so I can change everything now, and all of you can start marching forward and march back again. Soldier go, soldier come. I think Fela would have been a good head of state for Nigeria, because he would have got some people marching the right way. So, I think that is what has happened to this country. But we will still settle down. The soldiers that have been marching since, they will do attention one day. And then we'll be able to sort ourselves out gradually. I think we're going through the right process now. People are beginning to find their own feet. If things go around, price of goods go up, Nigerians will find a way to come to terms with that. When we were growing up, everything was done. We won't say according to the colonial rules and regulations, but at least there were standards that were set down for you and things that you had to toe the line. This is the proper way to do things. But if somebody says, no, let's turn around and turn it upside down. First stack. The only thing that has known to the whole world from Nigeria, that shook the whole world, that brought everybody attention to see what Africa has to offer the whole world. It happened here on this soil in Nigeria. I was a member of the ceremonial committee. I remember the opening ceremony. There were about 15 heads of state. We've never had anything like that since then. That is what we should ask ourselves. Every head of state that takes over from Nigeria should find out again. It's not from broadcasting that you can get the answer. You can get the answer from technocrats who had worked in all those areas. What happened? How come it couldn't happen again? It's like Armageddon. Every country was represented. Every culture was represented. Miriam Akiva was watching us and called us at the station one day and said, even the way we linked programs, they couldn't expect that it could be happening in Nigeria. We received phone calls. People were sending us bottles of champagne on the air. The links. Bimbo Oloyede was there with me. I was at the opening ceremony. I was yanked from there to come back to the station. From, interacting with the head of state or with our head of state at the time, to come and man the station, because what was phenomenal. How come we've not been able to do it? 77 years, how long ago was that? I was only 37 years old then. I'm going on 90 now. It hasn't happened again. We should examine that. Even the head of state that was there is still alive. Let us ask him again. Let us put him down and say, Oga, please explain to us what happened. Some people came up with a theory that the symbol that was used was fetish, that is what has happened and Nigeria has turned upside down. If that is acceptable, it may be superstitious in your eyes, but let us find out. Let's go call the Babalawo. Is it bad that it is a Nigerian that carved this image? And it is making news outside the world. Now you say, no, it is not good that Nigeria should be able to project an image that would attract the whole world, something that will bring everybody on their knees. After the first attack, we were still recovering, just battling in the glory of first attack. What's this artist, the blind one, who was not part of it, who didn't believe in it? He came and had his own first attack, all on his own, from America. Stevie Wonder. He came with his own team. We had to mount all the cameras back in the studio for him. He had his own 7-day festival here in Nigeria. What prompted him to do that? Other people came. They wanted to know what was happening in Nigeria. What has happened? We couldn't have another festival since then. Nothing went wrong. Everything went so well that people wanted to destroy our own Nigerian people, wanted to destroy the glory that's this whole thing that's emanated from it. It hit the whole world. People are asking, when you go to Britain, you say, what happened? Why aren't you having? I had a friend who was head of the, he was from the British Guyana, a black guy. He was friends with everybody. He knew all Nigerians. He said, what happened? Why are we going to have another festa? Professor Ian Hall, he keeps asking me. Even if we can't have it because it was very expensive. Anyway, Nigeria had all the money. Even though we had a coup after, it was first of all the brainchild of Gawan. And then Muritala came on board. Muritala was killed. But in spite of that, they couldn't kill that dream of having a festa in Nigeria. If we are able to bring out all those programs again, I think we'll be able to answer those questions. I'm still alive. There are a lot of people who will still want to know the answer to that. It's a very, very brilliant question that you have asked. I think if it was another country, we'll set up an inquiry and say, what happened? Can we resuscitate this whole dream? Some of the tapes that we had then in the WNC, some people put them in one place and set fire to them. Because they felt, maybe somebody in their religious organization said, you are the one projecting all these things, so Nigerians are bringing idols around. Who gave them the idea to make the idol? It's God now. It's from God. Whatever thing you were able to put together. The Bible was put together because God loved the world so much and He wanted us to learn about things that had gone out from the time of Adam and Eve. God loved the whole world and created Muhammad and said, put people together and let them say Allah Akbar every day, morning, noon, night. God created so many wonderful things for us, so many images that we can imbibe from, so many things that we can learn from. People want to come and learn about our country. Instead, we say, we want our sculptures back. What are you going to do with them? You don't have a museum where you're going to put them to make them thrive and people come here to Nigeria. It's a good idea for them to come, but if they learn about your country, what your people have done over the past 2,000 years. 2,000 years of Nigeria image was put together by the BBC. Nigeria went and tore it up in shreds. He tore it up. He said, what are you doing with that? What you call bad belly. I don't know if anybody sang a song with that title. If we maybe start from there and say, what do you do with your own bad belly? Some people, they are stadium. There is no theatre in England, in London, that I know that I've gone to watch plays and things that have not been in existence for over 500 years. So many studios. We have one big one, the dream of Nigerians. And now we want to go and do banking there. We want to go and do trade. It's supposed to be for culture, for our own culture. Lagos State will be dragging federal government by the neck and say, no, we own the theatre now, and we want somebody to come and do something there. If we can only put all these things behind us, the evil that people have done in the past, people like Julius Caesar, when they were writing all those, when Shakespeare was writing all those things like that have happened in the past. We should examine them. Get people like Wole Soyinka to sit down and rewrite the whole history again. If they ask me questions like you're asking me now, I'll be there to answer. Because I saw it all unfold before my eyes. The image of Nigeria will come tops. All the stations in Nigeria should get involved and do stories on this question that you've asked me. A very salient question, and I love it so much. That might be able to revive the image of this country and let us know where we are heading, in what direction, and bring us back to really the point of salvation. Well, I haven't seen it. I must have mentioned it somewhere. I think on one of the channels when they was trying to build the scandal around it, and I said, and I tried to put the record straight. That wasn't really what happened, and that it was from, I think it was from a book that was written by one of the wives that said that I was party to the breakdown of their marriage. And I was trying to put the record straight that that wasn't really the true picture. I have due respect. I have to, bow wherever I come in the presence of a president of this nation, past, present, or even present, yes. I hope I'll still be around when we have others coming on board. But I was taken aback that the head of state asked me a question that